move beyond it to action on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion from Rick, seconded by Dave to approve our agenda. Are there any questions? I see none. All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. Action on the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the regular meeting held on August 8th, 2022 as presented.
Second.
Motion from Jennifer, seconded by Rick to approve our minutes from the previous meeting. Questions on the minutes? I hear none. All in favor of approval of the minutes signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That clearly passes. E is action on the vouchers. As usual, of course, they are included in board docs for your review.
I move to approve the general checking account vouchers totaling $479,323.57 as presented. A second.
Thank you. Motion from Dave, seconded by Mike to approve our vouchers as he enumerated. Are there any questions on those? Hearing none, all in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vouchers are approved. Public comment has its usual place on the agenda, but I just checked the list and I don't see anyone, so we will move beyond it. Rich, Superintendent update, Red Hawk highlights.
Yeah, a couple things that I want to highlight. Last week we had a welcoming and training for our new teachers across the district. 24 new teachers spread out among all of our schools, and they came in for both an orientation and professional development over the course of 3 days. And then they also had some time to begin working in their classrooms and working with their mentors at each of their schools. So we're really excited to have them join our team and become part of our Red Hawk community. Early today, we had our full staff convocation. New staff members were introduced. We highlighted our upcoming strategic goals and graduate profile. We also celebrated our any staff members that were on a 5-year anniversary within the district, and I want to highlight 2 staff members. A 35-year coin for 3rd grade teacher at Milton East, Dale Langer, and starting his 35th year in the school district, and 45-year coin for Ken Sexy, the head custodian at Milton Blast. So starting his 45th year in the school district. So we had a number of staff receive coins for anywhere from 5 years up to 30 years, but I wanted to highlight those 2 for their long time work in the school district. So the other highlight from our morning was a guest speaker. Thomas Murray did an outstanding job highlighting the importance of building strong relationships with students and with each other. So it was a great message. We have some upcoming events as we go through the week. Obviously, our staff is in, and we'll be working on some professional development both at a district level and in each of their individual schools. We also have our open houses and some meet and greets coming up at all of our different schools on August 30th and 31st. I won't go through the start times for all of those. If people are interested in those, that information is available on our website. And then as we get closer to that first day of school on September 1st, we also have some athletics and activities coming up with a number of our teams either having had their first competitions or their first competitions coming up in this coming week. Our girls tennis team, our boys soccer have games coming up. I do want to highlight one special event that's on this coming Friday at our football game on Friday, August 26th, because it's our home opener, but more importantly, we're celebrating Jerry Schlem night. Jerry's a longtime football coach at Milton High School for 30 years. Led the Red Hawks to 2 state championships and was recently inducted into the National High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame, which is a great honor for one of our former coaches. So And then we also have volleyball and girls swim having their first events coming up this week. So we're excited about getting back to some competitions and opportunities for students to shine.
Very good. Any questions for Rich? I would echo what Rich mentioned there for the upcoming open houses. Obviously, all of us on the board have a building connection assignment, if you will, of sorts. The open house is certainly a very appropriate place for us to build that relationship with the building and the people in it and whatnot. So I would encourage all of us to sneak in for a few minutes if your schedule allows.
The 4K through 6th grade are on the 30th, August 30th, and on August 31st at the middle school and the high school.
Very good. All right, we will move on to new business. A is discussion and possible action on equitable services report. I will invite Julia Garcinski to the podium and share with us that topic.
Okay. All right, so this is a required annual report talking about the requirements that we have to provide equitable special education services to schools to private schools within our district. So each year we're obligated to set aside some federal funds, and there's some compliance pieces that go along with that, which is what I outlined in the memo for you. So I'm just going to review that. So annually, school districts are required to meet with the private schools within their boundaries. So we've always had one, Rock Prairie, Montessori, and now we have two. So Servant Leaders Christian Academy is the other one. Susan actually met with our private schools in the spring before she left, so this is what she did in that meeting. So we have to review Child Find, which is our obligation as a district, so we have to hold multiple activities throughout the year that identify, evaluate, potentially locate basically students who could be identified with having a disability. And then we discuss the fact that if they're attending a parentally placed private school, they don't have the same rights as they would if they attended the public school. So we just kind of had that discussion, what does it look like? But even though the services look different, we're still obligated to allocate those funds and to provide services that we can. And then we talk about how that proportion of funds is determined, which is a mandate from the state, and it's a pretty simple calculation that we're told. And then we have a little consulting process. So the consulting process is if a child has a disability in a private school, what do the services look like? When do they happen? How does it all happen? So it's kind of like logistics. So that's part of the annual discussion. The allocation determination is done on October 1st. So for this year's allocation, we looked at last year's October 1st count for how many students were in a private school, and that was 2 students. So this year we have approximately $3,718 set aside for students to receive services within private schools. We'll likely have some students who are referred, and we'll save some of that money if we don't use it all for actual services. We'll save some of it in case one of those referrals generates somebody who is identified with having a disability, and then we'll provide services for them as well. On the bottom part of the memo, it just talks about the staff that we use from our district to complete the evaluation. So Danielle Marco is one of our school psychologists, and she does some of the evaluations. We have a new speech and language pathologist this year at Harmony, and she will be providing the services at the Montessori school. If we do have to provide services at Servant Leaders, then we would likely use a different speech and language pathologist. At one of the other schools, just its determination, what we looked at, proximity to Servant Leaders and caseload numbers. So if we have SLPs in our district that have high caseloads, we would likely look to somebody else to provide those services. And then in past, Sarah Stuckey has served as the LEA if Susan or the director was unavailable to attend those evaluation meetings. I would look to attend those as often as possible, just continuing to develop relationships as the newbie and making sure that we're established with our community partners. Any questions about that report? Otherwise, I believe this is
I have a quick one, Julia.
Yes.
With servant leaders being new to us, they're a virtual school, is that right?
They are, but they do have some services that are on site as well, so that's why it gets a little tricky.
Okay, that's my question was, if we have to provide services to those, are they in the home or in, what is the actual place?
There are some on-site services, so I would, and I meet with them on Wednesday actually, so we will be discussing that, but I think they have a physical space and building, so that's where the services would be provided.
Gotcha,
Mhm.
okay.
Julia, can you give the board an example of a disability that a student might qualify for that the district would not be able to meet that need?
We would likely be able to meet all needs, but we are not obligated to. Once those funds kind of are gone, then we have a conversation with the private school. Do we want to maintain a tight relationship with our partners, our community partners? Absolutely. But do we want to risk our services as a district to our kids who are attending our public school? No. So then it would be a balance of, can we provide special education services for reading or for writing in the private school and have just as high of services provided here? If the answer is yes, then we would likely strengthen the partnership and offer those services. If the answer is no, then that's where kind of it's not the same as if it was in our district. Does that make?
It does, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Julia?
I'll make a motion to accept the equitable service report as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion from Rick, seconded by Dave to accept the equitable services report that she just presented. Questions on it? I hear none. All in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you, Ms. Julia. And we will roll on as soon as I get to it. B is discussion and possible action on changes to the 21-22 adopted budget. And welcome back, Ms. Bradley. Momentarily.
Questions? I need my stuff. All right, thank you for having me back. When we were talking at the budget hearing, we kind of talked about the process. And that in August, we typically do a revision to update the budget for activities that have happened since it was adopted in October. And the activities we have now are the revenues from the federal and state grants. As you know, we have talked about the ESSER funds, which are 1, 2, and 3. We have talked about our plan for them throughout the year and have worked on implementing that plan. And now at year end, the board will formally adopt the changes to the budget that we have made as we implemented those grant changes. Another layer of grant work, just to be aware of, is that in the fall, when we adopt the budget, we don't have every dollar of our title grants or our federal flow-through IDEA grants. Typically, the plan is to budget for what you need, and then we will find out also then that we get carryover. And when we get notification of that carryover, which are unspent funds from the prior year, the timing is such that the budgeting for those funds may or may not happen before the October meeting. So typically, the grant cycle is such that we will be doing revisions for grants on a regular basis. The numbers are larger this year because of the additional investments that we have made with ESSER 2 and 3 money. If you recall, with ESSER 3, we purchased ELA curriculum, and then we worked on HVAC controls at the high school. And then the ESSER 2 funds, I believe we spent about $700,000 on training and additional staff that were added throughout the year. So just as a process piece, the cycle continues, and this is the board's time to formally amend the budget.
Carrie, just a comment, and it's included in the other memo, but if someone's just watching the screen, they can't see it. The change in revenue of 1.8 million is an increase, and the change in revenue of Fund 27 of 411,000 is also an increase. Like I said, it's on the other memo, so anyone just looking at what's on the monitor, it's explained, but it wasn't there, so just including it, I guess.
And then also, pending board action, we do publish. That'll be a publication as well. That we've amended, our adaptive budget. The board has.
I would move to approve the 2021-2022 budget changes as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion from Dave, seconded by Jennifer to approve our budget changes. Questions for Carrie subject to that? I see none. All in favor of approval of the motion signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you, Ms. Carrie.
Thank you.
We will roll on. C is discussion and possible action on the 22-23 athletics and activities compensation. Mr. Tukendorf.
Thank you. This is a part 2 of a conversation we had back on July 11th. And at that time, the Board of Education approved a staffing baseline for our athletics, activities, and advisor positions for this current 22-23 year. And the next step of the process is to review and approve the employees that will be working those co-curricular and extracurricular assignments.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022-23 athletics and activities compensation spreadsheet as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion from Rick, seconded by Mike, as you just heard, to approve our 22-23 athletic and activity compensation spreadsheet as it was shared. Questions on it? All in favor of approval signify with an aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
D is action on 22-23 open enrollment alternative applications. That is also included on the spreadsheet there on the agenda there for us.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022-23 open enrollment alternative applications as presented. I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion from Mike, seconded by Dave to approve the open enrollment alternative apps. Any questions? Those in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you for that. Okay, nearly done. Miscellaneous. A is staffing report.
I'll make a motion to approve the staffing report as presented.
Second.
Thanks. Motion from Rick, seconded by Jennifer to approve the staffing report. Questions on it? Those in favor of approval signify with aye. And opposed? That is done for. Gifts and donations, I believe, has only one entry.
I'll move to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
Second.
Thank you. Motion from Jennifer, seconded by John to approve our gifts and donations. Questions? In favor of approval signify with aye, please.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you for that. Mr. Baumann, meeting dates.
We have our regular 2 board meetings coming up in September. August is one of those months with the 5th Monday, so there's 3 weeks between now and our next board meeting. So in September, on September 12th and September 26th, we have our regular school board meetings on those 2 evenings. In between those 2 meetings, we'd like to schedule both a policy committee meeting and an HR committee meeting. We're still waiting on some schedules, so I don't think we'll schedule those tonight, but once we have more info, we'll reach out to those committee members and get those scheduled. So those are still a few weeks down the road, at least 3 weeks down the road, but policy and HR committee members will just have those on your radar, and we'll be scheduling those between the 2 September meetings.
Very good. I have exhausted my agenda.
I move we adjourn.
Second. Rick and Dave, motion and second. All in favor? Approval. Say with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you for coming. School year's on the 30th.